Hi there and welcome to Tech Life, a channel where I aim to review everything from selfie sticks to laptops to IDEs for coding, video editing, software for producing thumbnails, essentially anything tech related. If you are new to the channel, please consider subscribing. If you have anything that you think I should review, please let me know in the comments and I'll do my best to review that product. In this video, we'll be looking at operators and operands. I'll explain what an operator is and then we'll write some code making use of some of the operators that are available in C#. An operator is a symbol that tells the compiler to perform a specific mathematical or logical manipulation. So in this diagram, we can see that the operator here is the plus sign and the equal sign. So we've got two operators here. We also have two operands. We've declared num1 and num2 as variables, and these two variables are the operands. Operators manipulate these operands in order to normally create new values. So here, the operator, the plus operator manipulates these two operands, the num1 and num2 operands, and creates a new value of 15. Because the value of num1 is 5 and the value of num2 is 10. It adds the two together in order to create this new value. Most operators are binary, meaning that they work on two operands. So again, in this diagram, we've got num1 and num2, which are both operands. And the operator plus manipulates both of these. Some operators are unary, meaning that they only require one operand in order to perform their operations. C# has a rich set of built-in operators and provides the following types: arithmetic, relational, logical, and bitwise, and assignment. Don't worry too much about the bitwise ones. In this beginner's tutorial, we won't really delve too deeply into the bitwise operators. Arithmetic operators are probably very familiar to yourselves if you've done any kind of mathematics at school. And so they include the plus sign, which we've already seen, minus. We use star for multiply in C# and many other programming languages follow this same notation. And we use the / to divide or to signify a divide. This percentage sign is the modulus operator, and modulus basically means that it returns the remainder of two operands that have been divided. So here we're saying B is divided by A and return the remainder, and B is 20 and A is 10, and when we divide a 20 by 10, there is no remainder and therefore a 0 is returned. We'll code some of this up and it'll be a bit more obvious to you when we fire up Visual Studio and we put this into code. And then we have the double plus sign here and the double minus, and again I'm going to code this up. It will be somewhat more obvious what these two do. Essentially, just briefly, adding plus sign, two plus signs to an operand increments its value by 1, and adding the double minus to an operand decrements the value of that operand. And this is a perfect example of an operator that only requires one operand to perform its function, whereas here we can see we need two operands A and B in order to add values together. Moving on to logic operators, we've got the AND, OR, and NOT operators in C#. The logical AND is signified by the double ampersand, and if we assign the value of true to A and false to B, and we use the logical AND for A and B, then it's going to return false. So A and B is false because in order for a logical AND to be true, both operands have to be logically true. Or, the logical or is signified by these two lines. Very often this line is called a pipe. So these two pipes depict the logical or, and or returns a value of true if at least one of the operands is contains a true value. So again, if we assign the value of true to A and false to B, we use the logical or on A or B, then it's going to return a true. And then the last one here, we've seen the not before, and basically the not reverses the logical state of its operands. So if A is true and we say not A, then it's going to reverse it to false. And if B is false and we say not B, then it's going to reverse that value to true. Here the example shows A and B are knotted. So what happens here is we use the value of true for A and the value of false for B, and if it was just A and B, the return value would be false, because both operands have to have a state of true in order for an AND operator to return true. But because it's returning false, we reverse that by using the not, so it reverses to the value of true. And finally, the assignment operator. We've already seen the equals. So when we use the equal operator, we're saying things like C is equal to A plus B. So we're assigning the value of A plus B to C. We have briefly visited this plus equals in previous videos, but basically what this equates to is saying if we first say C plus equals A, the equivalent is C equals C plus A. And likewise for the minus, C minus equals A is equivalent to writing C equals C minus A. And that kind of ripples all the way down to the multiplication and the division, and also the mod. We won't really delve into looking at these left shift, right shift, and bitwise operators, because to be honest, for a beginner's tutorial, that is going to get too complicated. So when we come to code up some of these operators, we'll probably just stop maybe at the divide equals, or maybe even the mod equals, but certainly we won't look into these bitwise operations. But I've depicted it in this diagram just to make you aware that C# does incorporate this type of operator. Okay, so let's fire up Visual Studio and create a new project. This project is going to be another console app. We're going to name it Operator. I'll give Visual Studio a second or two just to create the skeleton of the application for us. Okay, so we're going to delete the program.cs class. Next, we're going to replace it with our own. Right click delete. Let's do that. And then add. And we're going to add a new item. And the item is going to be a class. And we're going to give this class a name. I'm going to call it Operators. Okay. Next, we're going to get rid of most of these using statements. Actually, don't need them. And after that, we're going to create our main method, which is a static method. It doesn't return anything, so it's void, and it's got a capital M for main. Open and close parentheses. Open and close braces. And in here, the first thing we'll do is put a comment in. And this comment is going to say we're going to declare some variables. Those variables are going to be of type int. The first one is num1. The second one is num2. And the last one is num3. Semicolon at the end of the line. We've got these squiggly lines because we've declared something and we've not used it, so we'll fix that shortly. Next, we're going to assign values to these variables. And we're going to say num1 is equal to 5, num2 is equal to 10, and we're not going to give num3 a value just yet. And the first operators we're going to look at are the arithmetic operators. And so I'm just going to put a comment in here first. Arithmetic operators. And we're going to go through these pretty quickly because pretty much everyone's familiar with the arithmetic operators. If you've done any kind of mathematics in school, you should be aware of these. I'm just going to put a write line to output something to the console, and that is going to be a string, and it's just going to say arithmetic operators with a semicolon there. So the arithmetic operators include things like the plus sign, the minus, and divide, etc. So we're just going to output some of those to the console using console.writeLine. And the first one we're going to do is add. I'll leave a space there. And this plus sign concatenates. So this plus sign will concatenate this string to whatever I put after the plus sign. So I'm going to put open and close parentheses, and I'm going to say num1 plus num2, and this plus sign here does a arithmetic add of the value that's contained within num1, which is 5, and the value that's contained within num2, which is 10. So it's going to add 5 to 10, and it's going to output a value of 15. Whereas this plus sign over here, it concatenates a string to an integer, and it'll convert that integer into a string in order to concatenate the two together. Semicolon there. I'm going to put a quick read key at the end so we can see the output. Read key, semicolon, and we can do F5 to build and run. And the first thing that gets printed is arithmetic operators, which is here. This line outputs that, and then the second line add, and then the value 15. So as I say, I'm going to go through these pretty quickly. So that's the add operator. We're going to go through these quite quickly, as mentioned. I'm going to copy this line so we can just show you some of the others. I'm going to change this to subtract, and I'll change that to a minus. So that's the subtract operator. We can do one for multiply. And the multiply operator in C# is the star, which is sits above the number 8 key. And then we'll do the divide. And divide. And again, the operator for divide is the /, and I'm going to leave it at those four just for now. Just F5 to build and run. Okay, so that's the output. When we add 10 and 5, we get 15. When we take 10 away from 5, we get -5. When we multiply 5 and 10, we get 50. And then when we divide, okay, this is quite interesting because we declared num1 and num2 as integers. When we divide 5 by 10, we should get 0.05. But because integers cannot contain a decimal value, it just rounds it down to 0. So we can't see the actual decimal value. So that's why we're seeing 5 divided by 10 equals 0, which is obviously incorrect. In a real world application, we would have to address this and make sure that we, when we use divisions, we are using the correct type. So we'll probably use decimal or float. But for this simple example, we're just going to leave that. Okay, so the next one we're going to look at is the mod one, the mod operator, sorry. I'm going to control C that line, and we're going to change this label to modulus, and we're going to change the operator to a percentage sign. And if we press F5 to run, okay, so the mod of 5 being divided by 10 is 5, because mod returns a remainder. So if we try to divide 5 by 10, we can't do that, and the remainder that's left is 5. So that's why we're seeing the number 5 here. So that's modulus. We've got add, subtract, multiply, divide, and mod. And next, we're going to look at the operators that just operate on a single operand. The one we're going to look at first is the double plus sign. Console dot write line. And we are going to do a plus to concatenate, and we're going to increment num1. Okay, so what we're saying here is increment num1. This double plus sign, this attempts to increment a variable by 1 every time this is called. So let's see first what happens here. F5 to run. Okay, so num1 is 5, and it's saying increment. So this line here is still saying that num1 is 5. And the reason that happens is the line gets printed first, and then num1 is incremented, because we've got num1 and then the plus signs after it. So if I close this down, and if I do Control V, and that, oops, and let me output num1 here as well. So num1 is going to get printed twice. First it's going to get printed on this line, and then after this operator has worked its magic, num1 is going to get printed again here. Let's quickly run this and see where we are. Okay, so when we initially output num1's value on this line, we still get num1 as a value of 5, but after num1 has been incremented, we now have a value of 6. So there's a subtle difference, and you have to be pretty careful when you're dealing with these increment operators. So I'm gonna get rid of this line. What we can do here is, if we want the value of num1 to be incremented first and then printed, we move the double plus sign to before the variable name. And now if I do F5, oops, now we can see this line here. It increments the value contained within num1 from 5 to 6, and then it outputs the value. And it's the same for the double minus as well. I'll quickly show you that. Copy this. And this is a decrement. And I'll do the double minus after num1. Actually, that I'll do it before. Okay. F5 to run. Okay, and so num1 initially starts off as 5. We increment it to 6 on this line. So that's increment to 6, and then we decrement it back down from 6 to 5 on this line. So that's how these operators work. And if you recall, operators that operate on one variable are referred to as unary, and operators that operate on more than one variable are called binary operators. So all these 5 at the top here are binary, and these 2 at the bottom are unary. Okay, let's move on to the assignment operators. Let's leave some space down here. And we're going to utilize num3 now. First thing we'll do is we'll put a console.writeLine in. Console.writeLine. We're just going to say this is going to be our assignment operators section. And we're going to utilize num3. We're going to say num3 is equal to num1 plus num2, and we want to output the result of this. So that equal sign, that's an operator, and that is an assignment operator. Come on. we're just going to put output num3 to the console. F5 to run. And now we've got the assignment operators. So obviously num1 is 5, num2 is 10. Adding those together, we get 15 as the result. And we've spelled assignment wrong, which is fine. Let's fix that. Now a double S here. I'm gonna comment these out actually, just to clean things up when we output to the console. So I've selected all of them, and if we hover over these icons at the top, we can see this one here is comment. So that comments all those lines out. If we wish to uncomment those lines, again we can select them. We can use the icon sitting next to the comment one, which is uncomment, and that uncomment says, for now we will comment these out. We'll scroll down a little bit. Okay, so the next assignment operator we're going to look at it's the plus equals operator. So we're going to use this by doing num2 plus equals num1, and this is equal to saying num2 equals num2 plus num1. So when we write num2 plus equals num1, it's essentially exactly the same as saying num2, assign the value of num2 plus num1 to the variable num2. So let's output this. Let me comment this. I'll comment that line out, and I'm going to do a simple copy and paste. Copy that, paste it to there, and we're gonna put this copy that into this string. Okay, let's see the result of that. F5. So num2 is equal to num2 plus num1. Okay. The result of num2 plus equals num1 is 15. So essentially we're just adding the value of num1, which is 5, to the value of num2 and assigning it back to the variable num2. So there is an equivalent of minus for the plus equals, and that obviously is minus equals. We can do the same with num2 again. We can say num2 minus equals num1, and this is the equivalent of saying num2 equals num2 minus num1. Let's output the value of this. I'm going to copy and paste this. Okay, and no squiggly lines. And now we're saying take the value of num2. Okay, sorry. Take num1 away from num2 and reassign it back to the variable num2. So if we run this now, so when we take 5 away from 15, because what we do in this first line, we add num1 and num2 together to make 15. So num2 contains the value 15 now, and then we take 5 away from it, and then num2 becomes 10 again. I'm gonna, just to clarify this, I'm gonna comment this out. Let's scroll to the top. Num1 is equal to 5 and num2 is equal to 10. And so hopefully those values will be the same when we get to here. So num2 is 10, and when we say num2 equals num2 minus num1, we should see a value of 5 now. So if we run this, okay, so num2 is equal to 5 now. And this plus equals minus equals also applies to the other arithmetic operators. So we can copy this and comment this out. And we can put a star there, which signifies a multiply. Multiply. And now we're saying take the value of num2, multiply it with num1, and the result of that store back into the variable num2. So it's 10 times 5. We should see a value of 50. Okay, so num2 times equals num1 equals 50. So we say num2 equals num2 times num1. And lastly, we can do the same for the divide. I'm going to comment this one out. Oh, comment those lines out. Change this to a divide. Oops. Divide, not minus. So now we're saying num2 is 10 divided by 5, and the result of that store into the variable num2, F5 again. Okay, so the answer is 2. So 10 divided by 5 is 2. And we can also do the same for the mod. So if I comment this out, I'll copy and paste this first. Comment these out. And we can change this to a mod, which is a percentage sign. Percentage. Percentage again. And this is going to say num2 equals num2 divided by num1 and return the remainder. Num2 is 10 divided by 5. There won't be a remainder, so the answer will be 0. Okay, so num2 now is equal to 0. The next set of operators we're going to look at are the relational ones. Let me just comment this out. Comment this out. And we're going to do a console.writeLine. We're just going to say these are the relational ones. Okay. And if you recall, relational operators included the double equals, the not equals, greater than, equal to. Again, we've all seen these in mathematics, so we'll go through these quite quickly. I'll just show you what the outputs are. So I'm going to say console.writeLine, and the first one we're going to look at is the double equals. So I'm saying num1 double equals num2. Okay, and so we're not assigning the value of num2 to num1. What we're doing here is saying, is num1 equal to num2? If it is equal, then it'll return a Boolean value of true. If it's not equal, it'll return a value, a Boolean value of false. Okay, so we have a value of false returned. C#. When we assign a value from one variable to another, we use the single equal sign. When we need to compare the values of two operands, we use the double equals. And let's go through these pretty quickly. So we've got the not equals, which is, I'm going to copy this line, copy, not equals is the exclamation mark and the equals. Let's add some comments here. Not equals. I'll comment the top line out so it's clearer for us to read. So we're saying return a Boolean value of the operator not equals. So num1 is not equal to num2. Num1 is at the moment sitting on a value of 5 and num2 is 10. So we should see a value of true when we run this. Okay, not equals to true. And I'll show you the other 3 or 4 pretty quickly. Again, we're going to have Boolean values returned for the not equals, for the less than or equal to. Actually, first we're going to do the less than. And we all know what the less than sign is. So we're saying num1 is less than num2. Yes or no? Num1 is 5, num2 is 10, so we have a value true returned because num1 is less than num2. We can change this arrow around and ask the question: is num2 is num1 greater than num2? And this time we'll get false. I'm going to get rid of that label because it doesn't apply now. Okay, so the question we're asking is num1 greater than num2, and it's not because num1 is 5, num2 is 10, and we got a result of false there. We can have greater than equal to. In C#, it's greater than equal to. The operator is this right facing arrow with an equal. And again, this is going to be false because num1 is not greater than or equal to num2. So the answer is false. And lastly, for this relational set of operators, we got the less than or equal to. And that's depicted by this operator. And now the answer will be true because num1 is less than num2. Thanks. Actually, the last thing I'm going to show you is the logic operators. And in order to show you this, I'm going to have to create an array. And I appreciate we haven't looked at arrays thus far in my beginners tutorials. So try to follow along as best you can. If it's too complicated at this moment in time, then don't worry. I'll definitely do a video explaining arrays. Okay, with that being said, let me start off by creating this bit array, and we do so by using the keyword bit array. We give that bit array a name, and I'm going to call it A equals, and then we're going to use the keyword new, and then we're going to use the bit array keyword again, open and close parentheses, and we're going to use new again, and bool with square brackets. So this is saying create a bit array, and within that bit array we're going to store values of type bool. And now I'm going to actually insert the values into that bit array. So these are going to be bool. They can either be true or false. The first one is false. The second one is going to be false as well. Third one is going to be true, and the last one is going to be true as well. In C#, like many other languages, the elements within an array are zero indexed. So this first element here, this one is going to be 0. The second one is going to be 1. The third one is going to be 2. And the fourth one is going to be 3. Sorry, 3, not 5. Again, if this doesn't make any sense to you just yet, we'll investigate arrays in an upcoming video. Okay, let's delete that. I'm going to copy and paste this because I'm going to create another bit array. Control C, Control V, and this is going to be called B, and I'm just going to change some of these values. First one's okay for false, the second one's going to be true. Third one is going to be false, and the last one's true. That's fine. Cool. On this bit array, I'm going to use the AND operator first. So I'm just going to output using console.writeLine. We're going to AND the value of bit array A, and just the first element, we're going to AND AND the first element of bit array A with the first element of bit array B. And in order to get hold of the values within those elements, we firstly give the name of the array, which is A. We use square brackets, and then we give the index number. So it's going to be zeros. For the first one, it's going to be that this is going to be 0. And the AND operator is a double ampersand. And we're going to AND that with the first element of the bit array B. 0. When we AND two operands together, if both of those values are false, then we expect to see a false as the output. F5. Okay. And so we expected to see the value false. Let's do another one. I'm going to do the last two elements in both arrays. They're both true, so therefore we should see a value of true as the output. Even though it's the fourth element, because arrays are 0 indexed, in order to get hold of the value within the fourth element, we have to use the index number 3 in both occasions. And I'm going to steal this for a second. Copy that. I'm going to put it in. Let's put it in here. Logical operators. Cool. F5 to run. And we should see true. There's a true value. The next one we're going to look at is the OR operator. Again, we're going to compare the first elements in both arrays. And the OR operator is the double pipe. So we're saying all the values of element 0, or the first element of A with the first element B, both of them are false, so we expect to see a value of false there. F5. Okay, so that's false. In order to get a true value in when we use the OR operator, at least one of the operands has to be true. So we can see that the second element within the bit array B is true. So if we change these element numbers to 1 and 1, now we should see an output of true. Okay, so that's true. Okay, so the very last thing we're going to look at is the XOR, sometimes called the logical exclusive OR. And again, we're going to use this console.write line, and I'm going to XOR the first two and the first elements of each of the bit arrays. And exclusive OR will output a true or false depending on whether the input values are different. So if they're both false and false, we're going to expect to see a result of false here. Okay, so that's false. And because both of the first elements within bit array A and B are both the same, they're both false. Now, if I go over to the second element in each of the arrays, so the element number 1, so essentially the second element in bit array A is false, but in B it's true. So now we should see an output value of true as the output. Oops. Actually, we won't see anything at the moment because copying and pasting, I've made a mistake. I've left in the OR and I haven't changed the symbol. Exclusive OR is this arrow that kind of points up and it sits above the number 6 key. Okay, so let's do that again. I'm going to put these back to 0. So I'm saying A exclusive OR B. F5 to run, and we should still see false as the output. Okay, it's still false. Now if we go over to the second element, and index number for that is 1. And now if we do F5, we should see a value of true. So that's true. And if we go over to the last elements in both the arrays, which is index number 3, now we should see a value of false as the output. Cool. So that is the exclusive OR operator. I'm going to end this video here. In summary, we explained what operators are and what operands are. We looked at some of the operators available in C#, and then we went and wrote some code to make use of those operators. Right at the end, we even created a bit array so that we could show how to use logical operators. I hope you have enjoyed watching this video. If you have, please do hit the like button and maybe even consider subscribing. I hope to see you in part 8 of this C# beginner tutorial. Thank you so much for watching. Thank you so much. Bye.